Welcome to TIMFD. Today is my favorite day with your hosts, David Towner and Sam McEwen. If this podcast does speak to you, please like, share, and comment. Let your friends know all about us. And now, here's your hosts, Dave and Sam. Well, folks, welcome back to Today is My Favorite Day. You'll notice that David is not here, and I'm Sam McEwen. I'm your host for today. I'm here with Faith Maiville and Daniel Soares, and we're going to talk about the food pantry here at the Harbor Church. I'm going to hand this basically over to Daniel and Faith because they know more about the pantry than I do, and we have some questions and things like that. But Daniel, you want to tell me how this got started?
Okay, well, thanks for having us. It's a pleasure to be here, sharing with all of you guys a little bit of what is behind the scenes and what is the purpose for the food pantry. Let me start saying that this initiative started a while ago with Bill Reed, one of our brothers here. And what he had in mind was a much broader project that back then was called the CARE project. Mm-hmm. And one of the umbrellas for this project was what we call food insecurity or food pantry. And this is the only part that was actually implemented. So he started with this, and as I said, focus on food insecurity. And let me just qualify a little bit what food insecurity is. It is considered as a lack of access to enough food for a household. Mm. And this can be a temporary thing or can last much longer than it's desired to be. According to statistics here in the U.S., we had 38 million people under this food insecurity situation. Wow. 12 million of them being children. And so what can cause that, right? So there are many reasons that one family can find themselves on this situation. It can be a layoff at work. It can be an unexpected big maintenance on their car. Mm-hmm. It can be an accident on the job that takes the sole provider for the family away from the work. And then we have the bills still coming in, right? So
not to mention a pandemic.
Not to mention the pandemic. So it can be poverty, it can be unemployment, it can be low income, it can be lack of affordable house, it can be a chronic health condition. So that is exactly the focus that was defined for us as a church and for this project or this ministry in particular. How can we help these people as they go through this journey on their lives? So that is how this whole thing started. And we had a family that took it over from Bill Reed, the Adlermans, Bill and his wife. They ran the project for a while, and about 3 years ago, they had to redirect their attention to do something else. And that was when I started getting involved with this initiative. So that was the start, and that was the goal, and that was the transition, how I got involved with that.
So how many families were we serving at the beginning, and mm-hmm. where are we at today?
Mm-hmm. So at the beginning, we were serving from 5 to 10 families. Yes. And we were open for this family every other week. We were not open every week. So one of the first steps or decisions that we made was, okay, what if we go instead of every other week, every week?
Okay.
So then we started being open for the families every week, and that alone increased the number of families that were coming from 5 to 10 to 10 to 15 to 20. And then pandemic hit us. Mm-hmm. And this number jumped from 20 to about 80 families, which is the number that we have today.
And that's a big jump. And I know that at the beginning of that, there were some supply chain issues, I guess is what we're calling it today, right?
You still have it going on.
Yeah. And I know we get the food from many different places. Here at the church, if you drive by the church, and we'll repeat this again later, you'll see two big blue buckets out in the front doors of the church. And there's a need for certain products every week. We'll get into that a little later, but you can drop those things off into that bucket.
Correct. That was the start, right? When you first started, whatever the church members were bringing here, that was enough to serve these 5 to 10 families.
Right.
But in order to serve 80 families, the picture is totally different. We had to develop some partnership with some institutions here in the area, and I would name the two big ones. Feeding Tampa Bay, which is a national organization with a chapter here in Tampa. I would say we get 60% of what we serve every week from Feeding Tampa Bay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We have 3 loads every week coming from their warehouses. And we have another organization called Tampa Bay Harvest. Probably 40% of what we serve comes from them.
Okay.
And we have 1 load from them on a weekly basis as well. So, but this partnership with Feeding Tampa Bay and Tampa Bay Harvest is actually what is making possible for us to keep operating and serving these many families as we are today.
So I know, just because of coming to the church and some of the time frames, the holidays and things like that, that we've had specific requests for specific items and things, and it always seems that God delivers. Do you have any specific examples of that?
Faith can share some of these examples for Christmas or
Thanksgiving,
right?
Yeah, we had asked the members of the church to bring in Thanksgiving items, stuffing, gravy, mashed potatoes, sweet potatoes, pumpkin pies, and stuff like that we could put with. We had asked originally for turkeys, but then we had people come and volunteer to give us over 100 turkeys, or give us the money for 100 turkeys. So we were able to take the turkeys, fix them up a bag of what they were missing, and they had a complete Thanksgiving dinner. And that was cool. That was cool, watching the turkeys being delivered. Christmas, we decided, the ladies of the church, to do a Christmas gift of cookies for the families. So the ladies of the church met, and we boxed up almost 100 gift boxes of cookies. So when we gave out the food pantry food, we were able to give out boxes of Christmas cookies, as well as Christmas gifts for the different kids that we had with an angel tree. So that's awesome in getting stuff. But whenever we ask for anything, we always get it in abundance.
That's true.
So.
And one other example, there was this guy that his son had an accident, right?
Yes.
And then he had at home all the wheelchair and everything that someone that went through an accident like that would need in order to go through the recovery process. His son was fine. He just brought everything in here without asking us if we would receive that or not. And then we were looking at each other, okay, we'll take it. And I don't remember exactly, but a few cars behind him, there was a family in need of that specific item, right?
Yes.
Faith, you remember that?
Yes. And I mean, he said, here's this. It was an over the toilet seat for people who were recovering. And 2 cars later, is sitting there out, and we thought, okay, we got to find a place to store it. And this guy pulls up and said, mine broke. Can I have that?
Can I have that?
And it was like that. Another time, somebody brought a hose, a water hose, and we're like, okay, and we set it on the side. A couple cars later, come down. I was just going to have to go to Walmart and get a brand new hose. Mine broke. Can I have that? Yes, here. And time again, we've seen that happen. Even to the point where a family will pull up with a carload of kids, And as we're bringing the food in, they're taking the bread and breaking it and giving it to their kids because they haven't eaten in 2 days. And so, I mean, you go from that to the exciting new part. We're now giving out our bulletins in Spanish. The first week that we gave out our church message in Spanish, people were teared up. One lady stood there and cried and had to pull off to the side because she was so happy to be able to read the Word of God in Spanish.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things other than giving food that we do.
Well, and our mission here, we are a church, you know, and the Harbor mission is to love God and others and live authentically with God and others.
Right.
And so it's amazing. And I know you can both, and myself, we could go through stories of the past of how God has provided at the right time and always in His timing, not ours. But there's just so many stories that come out of this food pantry. It's amazing. And this is all a labor of love.
True.
I mean, these are all volunteers.
All volunteers.
All volunteers?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, all volunteers from different reasons. We could have people like myself that decided to get involved with this based on my childhood. I was on the other side of the table back then, having to rely on churches and friends in order to have food at the table for the family, right? So people that went through that like I did, I think have a better feeling of the need to give back whenever you can.
Yes.
So we have people like this and people that just have a good heart and have time and decided, you know what, I believe this is the right thing to do. I believe on what you guys are doing. And they would either give their money or their time, which we value the most. For us, it's a lot more important. Those that give their time here, because it is a lot of work that needs to be done in order to have the project happening on a weekly basis. We have around 20 volunteers that rotate among themselves. But every Wednesday morning, for example, for the setup session, we have about 7 to 8 volunteers. Some of them are here, all of them are here every week.
Yeah.
And then for the afternoon, when we do the distribution, then we have people that would rotate. Either we have some that are here every week, some that are here once a month, according to their availability. And we are very happy to have that many volunteers for a small church like us.
Church, yeah. Right. So here's a question for you. It's not on here. So I know what room you take up and how much it takes. Talk about the progression from, feeding 5 or 10 families to feeding 80 and what changes you had to make around the church.
I don't have the numbers to go step by step. I like to use the car that I drive.
Yes.
That's a good idea.
To mark that progression.
Okay.
When I got involved with this, I had a BMW, a sports BMW. So
that doesn't hold much.
I was able to go and grab whatever was needed on my BMW. After a while, I have to go to an SUV because the need was kind of much more than my BMW could hold it. And now I'm driving a pickup truck. I never saw myself driving a pickup truck, but again, it is for the ministry.
So the next step is a semi.
And we actually have 2 pickup trucks involved on this. We have Bruce, one of the volunteers that is in charge of the Tuesdays pickups. He does 2 pickups. He goes twice to the Feeding Tampa Bay warehouse on his pickup truck as well. So, but that is just to give an idea in terms of the volume that we are dealing with right now. So we went from 1 BMW to 4 loads on a pickup truck.
And we also have loads delivered here.
Here
for our food too, as well as that.
Yeah.
Well, let me add something about the volunteers. We not only have our church people who volunteer, we have people who don't even attend our church that
or
want,
any church at
or
all.
any church at all.
Yeah.
We have students who their mother wanted their kids to be involved in a service ministry and to learn to give to others, bring their teenagers. We've had kids from Sickles High School that did community service hours. So it's not just our church people, where other people are getting involved because they see and feel the joy of this service.
And so we're talking like the day that we actually serve is Wednesday, correct?
Yes.
From what time to what time?
We get here around 10 o'clock on Wednesday morning, and we're from like 10 to 12:30 to prepare. That we take all the food from all the deliveries that come in, all the truckloads, what's brought in to us, and we have teams. We have teams that we call the produce section. And these ladies go through tons and tons of vegetables and fruits, pick out the bad, bag up the good. We have another area that we do bread and snacks and canned goods and pasta and drinks. And then we have milk and dairy, whatever it is. But we decide how many bags we're going to prepare. So each one of these sections will have prepared 70 to 80 bags of whatever that item is. So we work from 10 to about 12:30, and if we're shorthanded, sometimes it goes to 1. It just depends. Then we go home, and we have another group that comes, and Dan and I usually get around 4, and that's when we bag up the frozen stuff like the meat, because that has to stay refrigerated longer. And we bag up, and cars are lined up at 3:30 to start getting their food. We don't open until like 10 minutes to 5.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, when you're serving that many people and people know that they can come in and get good quality. So I've seen some of the products that go out. This is not like back when I was growing up and some of the food pantries and things like that. It was all leftovers. You know, this is quality products that have been donated and some aspects paid for. And so I wonder, how many hours do you think total volunteer hours is spent in a week?
Yeah.
Including driving and all that stuff?
Yeah, some of the volunteers the ones that decided to be here once a month, it's about 3 hours that they donate per month. So I would say that's the minimum that we have. And then we might have another group of people that would be working 20 hours per week. Typically, these are people like Faith, myself, that are here every time there is something happening. I'm involved with the pickups. I'm here for the setup. I'm here for the distribution. That's 20 hours per week. So that can go from 3 hours per month to
20 a week.
80 a month or 20 a week.
Yeah.
So it all depends on the time that you have to give and what your position in the ministry is. And
That's fine.
We're kind of running out of time for this session. So this is the Today is My Favorite Day podcast. So to close it out, I'm going to ask you both, what about today makes it your favorite day, Daniel?
Oh, just being alive and on a position where my health is still good enough for me to serve, and I have support from my family for me to do this, and I have financial support for myself in order to do this. So I guess today is my favorite day because God is giving me the availability and the capability to serve the community in a way that I was served when I was a kid. So to me, it's like going back 50 plus years and still remembering the seasons of life that I went through, and now taking a different picture today. And I have to say, I'm very thankful to God for giving me the opportunity to do this.
Okay, that's awesome.
That's pretty much sums it up for me too. I'm grateful that I'm retired and I have the time, the finances, and the strength to be of service in this area that I'm so passionate about. Watching people and receiving, and when they owe us nothing, and is heartwarming to me. So that all makes it my favorite day.
That's awesome. Today's my favorite day because I'm alive, I'm breathing, and I know that God is honoring all the stuff that Daniel and Faith do because of their faithfulness to God, to this church, and to the community. And this has been Sam McEwen. We're going to come back with Faith and Daniel the next episode, and we're going to talk about some of the logistics and some of the statistics and things like that. But we're done for today. So thank you all. Live intentionally and be very, very blessed, my friends. We'll see you later.
All right,
God bless you.
Thank you for listening to TIMFD. Today is my favorite day. The views, comments, and opinions expressed here today are those of the hosts and guests alone, and Dave and Sam are solely responsible for the content of this podcast. TIMFD, Today is My Favorite Day, is produced and directed by Alex Korn. Music is composed and performed by Chuck Bach. Thank you for listening. Have a great day. Live intentionally and be very blessed, my